Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to everybody today, to all of you who are joining us this afternoon for this webinar on building bonds and how to grow your teams even while we are apart. Okay, so we are very excited to be with you today, and I hope that wherever everybody is, you are all safe, you are all well, and it's great that we can still come together and learn from each other, even if we are actually far away from one another. So we're looking forward to spending this hour with you. My name is Sarah Ramos. I am or a member of Organic Intelligence and an org development expert for that organization. Now, before we actually begin with our webinar, let me introduce our company to you first. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are Organic Intelligence. Organic Intelligence is a marketing and communications agency. It is a think tank, okay, where we come up with local and global solutions, and by harnessing local community and all best-in-class resources so that we're able to connect the organization, your organization, with your intended audiences and stakeholders, whether they're your internal customers or your external clients as well. So how do we actually do that? We do that by leveraging on our competencies. We have four, okay? We have marketing communications, which is all about brand and people marketing planning. So communications planning, user experience, data design and visualization, and branding, okay? We also do that through marketing intelligence. So this is all your research, whether qualitative or quantitative, traditional and modern forms of research, online or on ground, or any kind of channel specific research that you would need. We also do digital and financial audits, and we do ethnographies, experiential, and new models of research. Okay, we also have competencies in development communications where the focus is for landscape scans, health consumer insights, for capacity building, and for behavior change and strategic communications. And lastly, we have people development, which is focused on organizational development, on training and workshops, and on coaching. Okay, so these are the four competencies of organic intelligence. For a lot of the work that we do, we actually collaborate very closely between these groups so that we're able to give you the best solution for your organization. We belong to a bigger community, okay, of partner agencies where our partner agencies also engage in events and experiential marketing, digital, okay, public relations, for content production, and we also have community activation and on-ground communication. So what happens is we are part of a very robust ecosystem of competencies so that we can come up with a very comprehensive kind of solution for any kind of concern or challenge that your organization will have. Okay, so aside from our partnerships with our community, we have other partnerships with different organizations. We have memberships in SMR and MORES for our market intelligence groups. We also part of a network for the DOST, PCHRD. So we also have a strategic partnership with the Ateneo Business Resource Center, and we're also a member of PhilJeps. One of the partnerships we currently have is also together with Francis Kong, is that Organic Intelligence is a shareholder for Pocket Mentor, which is really the first digital mentorship platform that really strives to inspire and motivate Filipinos, okay, to lead more purposeful lives. So every time that you want to learn something, Pocket Mentor is also there for you. So these are the things that make us, I guess, come up with solutions to all your concerns. All these partnerships and all these working together with different agencies really makes the solutions that we provide very robust. Okay, so today specifically is something that we're very excited about, and to talk to you about how can you build bonds, okay, in your organization with your own employees and your people, whether you're a small organization or a big one, right? Everybody, especially at this time, is looking for some kind of connection. So to do that today, I will be joined, okay, by one of our partners in Organic Intelligence, and he is Robbie Shalseta. Okay, Robbie has decades of experience in corporate training, and his focus has been in leadership development, coaching and feedback, conflict management, and communication and creative thinking. He has experience also in the academe, where he was a professor in the University of Asia and the Pacific, and was also a prefect of discipline at the Xavier School, Manila. So aside from that, he has certifications in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, as well as Edward de Bono's The 6 Thinking Hats, and is also certified as a family, marital, and premarital counselor from the Ateneo Center for Family Ministries, or CEFAM. Okay, he is also a neurolinguistic programming practitioner, having been certified by the Asia Pacific Council of NLP. And aside from that, is also an awarded stage actor. So very multidimensional. I'm sure you will enjoy learning with him today. So without further ado, I ask you to welcome with me my partner, Robbie Jalcita. Hello, good afternoon, Rob.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon to all of you who are watching us live now here on YouTube and on our Facebook pages. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, like Sarah said, this is going to be a very interesting afternoon of learning and a very interesting afternoon of us answering your questions if you have questions for us. So thank you, Sarah. That was such a thank you for that introduction. I wrote it
Well
myself.
deserved. Well deserved, Rob.
Okay, so let's get the ball rolling here, and we really want to talk about engagements. And when we talk about building bonds and having employee engagement, I can't help but remember or be reminded of what we call relationships, right? So when a person is engaged to another person, it's always such a big event. We're always so happy about it, and we're always so interested, with the outcome. And that's something that's really nice. We announce it, people post it, they put it on the status of Facebook, but how does that translate to engagement in the workplace? And the way that we can look at that is maybe we can try to see some data on what engagement really is when it comes to employee engagement. And in a study done by Harvard, they reviewed over 500 companies over 500 employees, that is. And they found out in their research that 71% of managers felt that employee engagement was one of the most important factors in overall company success. All right, so 71% said that employee engagement is so important. Of course, despite this, majority of employees are disengaged at work. So why is that so? And maybe the question to ask is, okay, it's nice to know that yes, employee engagement is important, but are we actually giving it priority in our companies? Are we giving it priority in terms of the way that we engage our teams? What else? When another study was done by Gallup, and in terms of Gallup, the state of the global workplace, they found out that only 15% of employees reported that they are engaged at work, and an alarming 85% are disengaged. Imagine that. 85% of employees said that they were disengaged from work. And I'll show you a little bit of what it looks like, or what are the different forms of disengagement in terms of employees who are disengaged, and what is the impact that it has on our day to day. So when we look at engagement in terms of numbers, because of course, many people think that, oh, okay, it's nice to be engagement. Yeah, great. It's a good thing to have. But how do we measure it? And what's the impact on the bottom line in terms of the company? How does it affect everybody? So in terms of the engaged employee, it made companies 21% more profitable. That's great, right? 41% lower absenteeism. Why? Because people really enjoy coming to work. That's why there's less absenteeism. So when an employee is engaged, then they come, they show up, they're there. Next is, it can lead to as much as 4 times growth in revenues. Imagine that. 4 times growth in terms of revenues. So an engaged employee, or if your employees are engaged, if we could have flipped that number, that 85% of your employees are engaged and only 15% are disengaged, imagine the absenteeism, the turnover. Imagine all of that. You will be more profitable, I assure you. And of course, growth. There will be growth because people are just more productive. Now, let's look at the opposite. What if they were disengaged? In terms of disengagement, it costs around 4,000 US dollars to hire new talent. And you see that, right? You see that. HR sees it, top management sees it. Every time they have to hire and onboard a new person, it costs money. And that's the reality. What about in terms of that onboarding? How much does it really cost? It's about $968. So we're talking about dollars. Imagine in pesos how it's impacting your company. So overall, it costs around 5,000 US dollars just to hire new talent and onboard them. So in terms of pesos, that's like 25,000 pesos just to onboard a new person, right? Okay, what else? It costs around 550 billion US dollars a year. Oh, sorry, let me correct myself. That's 250,000. It costs around 250,000 pesos to hire new talent and to onboard them. Galing ako sa math eh. Okay? So, that's why I go to experts for that. So, in terms of costs, overall, yearly, it costs US companies around 550 billion US dollars to be disengaged. So, imagine what it's costing us to be disengaged. So, what is employee engagement? I mentioned it and I likened it to a relationship, right? When people get engaged, to be married, why did I mention that? Well, this was a quote by David McLeod, and he's the author of The Extra Mile. And he says, this is about how we create conditions in which employees offer more of their capability and potential. So remember that. How we create conditions, okay, where employees offer more of their capability and their potential. So I want you to remember that. Create the conditions. Why is that? Because employee engagement, by definition, really is a workplace approach that can result in the right conditions for all members of the organization, whether you're in leadership or you're in rank and file, anywhere. And it gives those conditions for people to give their best each day. They are committed to their organization's goals and values. They're motivated to contribute, and they have an enhanced sense of their own well-being. Isn't that just like when you're engaged to be married? You're committed. You're motivated to contribute to this new relationship. So imagine if you had that same feeling coming every day to work, that you give your best each day, that you're committed, you're motivated, and you have a sense of well-being. That would be really great, right? And that's what employee engagement does. And that's what employee engagement is. So an employee who is engaged does this every day. They do their best, they're committed, they're motivated to contribute, and they have an enhanced sense of their own well-being. So employee engagement really, in order to make those right conditions, is really about trust, having integrity. It's a two-way commitment and communication. So it's not just me contributing, me coming in. It's two ways. Everybody contributes to employee engagement. It's not just HR's work, as a lot of people think it is. Well, yes, they monitor, and they're the ones who come up with those great ideas, but it shouldn't stop other people from contributing their own ideas on how to engage everybody. So it is an approach that increases the chances of business success, contributing to organizational and individual performance, productivity, and well-being. And this is what employee engagement is all about. Now, what are the benefits to employee engagement? What are all these benefits? Because it has to benefit in some way. Number one, it drives performance. People are motivated to work faster, to work harder, to do their best every day. And they're committed in their work. They're happy to be there. They're happy to give their time and their talent every day. And that's why it drives that performance. Now, Next, employees use discretionary effort. Now, what does that mean? Discretionary effort. So it means that, for example, an engaged computer programmer will probably give in the needed overtime, right? At his discretion. Like he or she will decide to do that on their own. They can do that. They're empowered to do that on their own. So they have that empowerment to do that. Or maybe somebody who's checking luggage at the airport, it's their discretion. They know how to use that. They know how to use their empowerment for discretionary purposes in order to make judgment calls. And they know that they can do that they are in an environment that allows them to do that. So when a workforce is engaged, they use their decision making capabilities, they use their discretion. Another word for that could be diskarte, right? Marunong dumiskarte kasi nga engaged. All right. Next, better business outcomes. Of course. What do we mean by better business outcomes? Better output in terms of the bottom line. How does that look like? Well, here are the benefits in terms of a profit chain. Number one, when you have engaged employees, they are committed, they do their best every day, and they have a sense of well being. What happens? There is higher service or customer service, or there is higher customer satisfaction. Now, we're not just talking about customers outside of the corporation, like in terms of retail or in terms of a service, right? We're also talking about customers in terms of stakeholders, people that you work with, your colleagues. So everybody is a customer. The people around you are your internal customers. The people outside, yes, are also customers. You may be in the BPO or you may be in shared services of a certain company. And given that, your stakeholders or the people that you work with are the people who are also part of that company, but you are doing processes for them. And so therefore they are your customers. So it's really everybody that we impact with the work that we do. And when employees are engaged, then they have a higher sense or a better sense or better they give out higher service because they're committed to doing their best every day. Next, if you have that, if customers internally and externally are happy, what do you think happens? Profit, right? Bottom line is impacted. People now make people now are make better productivity, and now it brings up the bottom line, right? So that's why it's good, right? It's good that people are engaged. You can see it from there. Higher profits, higher productivity. Make sense? Yes, of course. Now, what about disengagement? So we can also look at engagement as sort of like a spectrum, right? There are different levels of engagement, and we can look at it like a spectrum. How do we look at it in terms of the spectrum? Well, you have the engaged employees who are in the blue. And so these are the ones who are loyal. They're psychologically committed and they're more productive. Higher retention, meaning they'll stay, they'll be loyal to the company, they'll be there. Second is you have the not so engaged, right? They're productive, but they are not psychologically connected to their company, meaning they show up and they do the work. That's it. It's okay. They miss more work days and more likely to go on leave most of the time. Of course, take your leaves. That's very important, right? You should take your leaves. But they miss work days more often than they're there. But when they're there, yes, they're productive. They're just like at the bare minimum, right? They're at the bare minimum. So they're not engaged. And then you have the last one. These are the people in the red who are actively disengaged. And what does that mean? That means they're physically present, but they are psychologically and mentally and emotionally absent. They are not there. So they are unhappy, and What's worse is that they insist on sharing this unhappiness with others. Okay, narinig nyo ba yon? Right? They are happy or they insist on sharing their misery with others. Kasi nga, di ba, misery loves company. Or people say that, most people, when they share stuff in the office, it's usually bad news. But it shouldn't be that way. So the actively disengaged, these are people that, can be a danger to the corporation. Why do I mean danger? Because look how close they are to those who are not engaged. So people who are not engaged can actually fall into the red, or if we have good engagement plans and activities, they can go to be in the blue. So we have to take care of the people in the middle because they are the ones who can swing either way. Pwede silang pumunta sa actively disengaged or pwede silang pumunta sa engaged or highly engaged. So we need to take care of the people who we feel or sense are not so engaged in their work. All right? Okay. So, let's look at employee engagement and what it is and what it's not. Meaning, let's look at the facts versus fiction in terms of employee engagement. So, what do I mean? Employee engagement facts, it affects every important aspect of your organization. Second fact, employees who are truly engaged will be motivated to do their best work every day and stay with the company who is taking employee engagement seriously, and they cultivating work relationships through proper, clear, and open communication is the core of improving engagement. I think this is very important. Cultivating work relationships through proper, clear, open communication is the core, right? Is the core of improving engagement. And lastly, while engagement is constantly evolving, engagement can be defined and measured by things important to the company. And I'll show you how we do that. How can you now measure whether employees are engaged in your organization? What about the myths or the things that are fiction about engagement? Employee engagement and employee satisfaction are the same. No, no, they are not. Employee satisfaction does not address their level of motivation, involvement, or emotional commitment. I can be happy going to work because I have a paycheck, because I'm being paid. And of course, especially in this time, people are happy just to have jobs. But that's the bare minimum. So yes, they're happy that they have a job, but are they engaged? Are they giving their best every day? So employee engagement and satisfaction are not the same. High salary and good benefits are enough to keep employees happy and engaged. No. I've seen this many times. No matter if you work for a small family business or a large conglomerate, big, good salary, it doesn't mean anything. People leave, people will come and go depending on how engaged they are. It's not about the salaries all the time. So the modern employee will prioritize a stellar work experience over higher pay. Excuse me. Next, engagement can be built only through fun activities and novelties. Maybe some of you already feel this and know this. Engagement involves a series of strategic activities embedded in daily operations, not disconnected one-offs or manipulation of emotions, because people can feel that if you are manipulating their emotions. So make sure that your engagement really engages people, or is there they are strategic activities, they're planned out. Okay, they're not one-offs. And some of you may be feeling that I mentioned a while ago. What do I mean? That you've been to countless team buildings but somehow you don't feel connected with people, or you've had so and so training but it didn't help you. And why is that? We'll talk about that in a bit. And last, Engagement is HR's responsibility. That is fiction, ladies and gentlemen. That is fiction. Okay? Hindi totoo yan. Yes, while HR is the lead driver in engagement, every employee in every department at every level plays a role in creating engagement. Pag may bago ba sa team nyo, do you welcome them? Di ba? Do we welcome new members of our team? Or do we leave it to HR to onboard them? Yes, of course, they are onboarded, but when they come to your team eventually, do we welcome them? What do we do? What are things that are in place for us to take care of them? Make sense? Of course, yes. So these are fiction. Now, in terms of creating an engagement plan, and I said I will talk about this, we'll talk about engagement plan. How do we create an effective engagement plan? Because many of you have already attended different engagements and somehow you feel that pare-pareho lang naman eh. We still get the same thing. Bakit ganun? Okay. So, how do we create that? Number one, you need to revisit, and I mentioned this a while ago, you need to revisit the company's purpose. If your company has a why, if not, we can help you with that, the tribe why or the company why. But look for your company's purpose. Look at your company's purpose. Or look at the mission and vision and values of the company, right? So revisit it. Your engagements have to connect with all these before you even act upon it or before you even plan. Second is, it has to align with your business strategies and goals. What do you want to achieve for the year or for the fiscal year? What is it that you want? What is it that you need to do, right? So align it with those. Align it with the strategies that you have planned out for the year. And mind you, this year and last year are really, really different from the previous years. The studies I showed you a while ago, they were done pre-COVID. So what more now? All the more now, we really need to think about how we plan our engagements in order to create good engagement activities for our employees in this time of the now normal. Yes, I keep on saying that. The now normal. For those of you who know me, that's what I always say. It's the now normal, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to create engagements for the now normal. Next, identify engagement gaps. What does that mean? Well, what do people want or what do people need in terms of how they feel working in the company? What do they need in terms of their work to make them feel good about their work? What do they need in terms of feeling good working with other people or working cross-functional? You know, if they have to work with other people from other departments, what do they need? Right? So we can identify those gaps. We can try to identify those gaps by either making a survey, doing in-depth interviews, and whatever, taking pulses every now and then. These are ways for us to be able to check whether or not there are gaps that we can fill with engagement activities. Next, we can explore and be creative with the way that we make our engagement plans. I mean, we can do a lot of things, and these are things that we should consider. The first three are the really important ones. How do we tackle planning using our mission, vision, and values and purpose, or looking at the strategies and goals, or identifying gaps? Do they always have to have all these three? No, of course not. You can have engagements that repurpose people or reorient people towards the purpose of the company, or reorient people to the strategies that you've developed or the top management has developed and cascaded to the organization. So these are things, just get creative. Find new ways of doing things because, like I said, the now normal is really different. So we have to really be creative in coming up with engagement plans. Next, how do we measure if engagement is actually effective, right? Okay, so we came up with a good plan. How do we know that it was effective? How do we measure engagement? And the way that we do that, first we have to ask, well, what are we measuring in the first place? So there are several what we call engagement drivers, okay? Engagement drivers. And instead of just diagnosing engagement levels, okay, look at these drivers so that you can have actionable insights and impacts to the organization, okay? So what do I mean by engagement drivers? Some engagement drivers are clarity of communications. You can, of course, you can measure that. How about overall wellness, overall work-life balance? How about recognition or rewards and recognition? These you can measure, right? And these are drivers of engagement. How about appreciation or freedom to innovate? We can take a pulse of that, right? We can see and we can check. Or being heard, right? Am I being heard in this company? So those are ways that we can check engagement drivers. Next is segmentation. So segmentation is really different types of people or employee experiences in your workplace, or how they experience the workplace individually. So these are we can of course take a pulse of that or a survey by segmenting your results based on demographics. So one department might see their work experience different from another department. New employees will see their work experience different from those who have been tenured. So you can segment those and measure, okay, so that it makes sense in your organization. Where are there experiential gaps in terms of these, in terms of your engagement planning, right? You can now have those gaps. So also you can if you are a big company, a multinational or an international company, you can check location to location, or even if it's in a different province, what are the different ways that we can segment. Okay, next is relationship. So we can measure alignment with different levels of relationships, right? From vertical, okay, direct reports and superiors, or even horizontal, interdepartmental, or even institutional, clients and suppliers. How do we measure? We can take surveys, we can ask around, interviews, right? And these are ways that we can measure if engagement is better. Has there been a significant change, right? Third party point of view. If you are in retail or if you have a service, your stakeholders can give you feedback. So these are ways that we can measure whether or not the engagement plan worked. If there were things that you did to address certain gaps that somehow should have been filled by these interventions, then you can measure it by asking people either from the vertical, the horizontal, surrounding. It's really up to you how you want to see or where you want to get results. Okay? So I've been talking about all of these because, of course, the way that we should measure, how we should measure, is really by taking a survey. Now, I'm not talking about a survey that happens every 3 months or every 4 months. Okay? Those are pulses. Like you get a general feel of what's happening. A survey really happens once a year. They're not very long. All right? They're not very long. And you can, or you should, okay, you should survey everyone in the organization. That's why it's only once a year. And you can make it really, really simple. Okay, you can make it really, really simple. Our organization in Organic Intelligence, we can help you with that. How do you craft surveys that are concise but direct to the point, and we can survey everybody? Okay, if you really want to know what those gaps are and how we can help your employees. But always make sure that surveys are taken seriously and that everybody is involved in the survey. Okay, everyone. So it's an annual event. Okay, it's not, you can't take a survey and only half the organization is taken. That's just a pulse. It's not the survey. Okay, clear? Okay, next. What about focus group discussions. Yes, you can have these focus group discussions, but just remember that when you have a focus group discussion, it's really about looking at, how other people feel or what other people perceive the company to be. You gather around a controlled number of people and you ask them pointed questions. Okay, pointed questions. So it's very important. This can give you a pulse. Okay, this can give you a pulse of what's happening in your team, or what's happening in the workplace, or in what's happening in the department. So FGDs are also important. Focus group discussions, one-on-one interviews, regular check-ins. Those are important as well. You can have it either bi-monthly, or you can have it weekly. Have a one-on-one interview with the people that you work with, just so that you have an idea of how engaged a person is. And these are very important to do before you even go into the annual surveys. So why do we have these focus group discussions and these one-on-one interviews? Because sometimes you want to, reorient the direction of certain strategic plans that you had for maybe the department or for your team. And so these can help you actually readjust. Okay. Next, feedback. Oh, this is very, very important. Feedback is very, very important. So always remember that feedback is both ways. We can get feedback from other people, our peers, our superiors, or managers, people who are also at the same level as we in terms of our rank in the office or our position in the office. Interdepartment, we can also ask stakeholders. Let's get feedback and be open to feedback. There is no such thing as bad feedback. Okay? There's no such thing as bad feedback. What is bad is criticism. Okay, that's not good. Okay? Hindi tama 'yon. So, not criticism but feedback, because feedback talks about behaviors, feedback talks about results, things that can be seen and are more tangible, more understandable, so that things can be made clearer. Okay? So these are tools and ways that we can measure engagement of employees in our organization. So let's look at different ways that we can have engagement. So team building is really the most obvious way that we handle engagement, and it's good. It's really a great engagement tool, right? So how does it help? Because team building brings people together. It's happy, it's fun, it's great. Diba? When we have games and we go out of the city, diba? Before, when it was possible, if your company was doing well enough, you can even travel abroad or travel somewhere else, in the country, fly out to a different province, and that's possible. So team building activities really provide a venue where employees get the chance to know each other. Okay, really get to know each other. And of course, in a different light, more relaxed, okay, rather than the work environment. And that's really important when you're doing team building. Again, align it with your mission, vision, and values. Always know what are the gaps. Always know what it's for. What is the team building for? And what do you want to get in return when you do team building? Ano nga ba makukuha ko dito? We, in Organic Intelligence, in Learn, me and my partner, Sarah, and our other partner, Jen, we don't do team buildings just for the heck of it. We always ask our clients, what do you want to get out of it? What do you want to see your employees get out of it? And that makes it more meaningful in terms of team building. Now, it helps, like I said, because you socialize in team building. It creates a lot of teamwork, right? Because you work on things together, right? You work on things together. There are activities. Again, it's planned activities. There's an agenda. It's not just a free for all. Next is, it allows people to be innovative in terms of the results that they are getting in the team building process. So They're allowed to be innovative. Their creativity comes out. And last, it allows them also, depending on the activities that you put in a team building, and we've done this many times, it allows them to develop their problem solving skills, to be really good at critical thinking. And that's something that we need to remember when we do team building. We can structure it in such a way that it really gives them a good experience and something that they can take home and remember, not just nice photos. That after 5 years, they look at it and say, who was that again? Oh, nag-resign yan after ng team building. Nag-resign. Okay, so, right? So team building activities should be memorable in a sense that it really brings people together to be more productive at work. That's what it's really for. But of course, let's also look at it in terms of a checklist. What do we need to understand in terms of team building? Why are we doing this team building in the first place, right? What are the objectives? What are specific challenges that we want to address in this team building? And we've done that before. Like one of our clients, they didn't have team building like in the last 10 years, so they really didn't know each other that well. And so we wanted to address that. We wanted to give them an experience wherein everybody gets to interact with everyone. And we did that for them, among other things in terms of activities. And then what are actual behaviors that they can bring back to the workplace? How will these be manifested in terms of situations and behaviors? So team building brings out also new behaviors that they can take into the workplace. Next, the takeaways, like I said, after activities, how would the workplace look like and feel in terms of after they've gone through all these activities? How will it sound like? Because even our speech and our communication can be impacted. We can change the way we say and do things in order to engage more people and be engaged with more people. So what behaviors do we wish to see? Also, who are the participants? Maybe not everybody needs to be in this team building. Maybe everybody needs to be in this team building. So you really have to see who can be in this team building process. Next, what are the resources that we have right now? What can we use? What are the materials that are available? The venues that we can go to? And this is pre-COVID. So, but right now, it's a whole different ballgame. How do we hold team buildings now, given the fact that we're all on lockdown, especially nowadays, right? So we need to step up and really be creative, find new ways of engaging people with the materials that we have. Every day is an opportunity to find new ways of engaging people. Make sense? All right, let's move along. So after team building, now what, right? So employee engagement activities can be incorporated in the company's day-to-day. How? Let's communicate and connect regularly, right? After that, what can you do better in terms of communicating? How do we create ways to receive and to give feedback to each other? What can we do to make that better? So these are ways, official channels. What are official channels that we can access after the team building, right? Next, rewards and recognition. Yes, people like to be rewarded, of course, for their good work. It's a validation of their loyalty and service, right? For the company and for the people that the company delivers service to in whatever capacity that is, whether internal or external customers, as I mentioned a while ago. So rewards and recognition doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be money. It can be something else. Nowadays, since people are on lockdown, it can be food or, whatever it is. Send them a certificate, or a gift check or something, Shopee points or Lazada points. I don't know if they sell that though, but well, whatever it is, it's a reward, and we can do that. It's another way that we can engage people. Next is a challenge and upskilling, meaning we need to create opportunities for people to upskill themselves, especially now during lockdown, or where people are working from home. There's so much opportunity for us to be able to work on building another skill, or to read a little bit more, or to find a little bit more time to learn something new that will help impact your work in the office, or okay, the virtual office. Okay, so these are challenges that we can give our employees in order for them to be engaged. There's so many online courses out there. Your company can subscribe to maybe one of these, whether it's Coursera, 42 Courses, Udemy, whichever. It's really up to you. Find a way to help people upskill and develop themselves while we are in this now normal. Next is, we need to walk the talk. Definitely, we need to walk the talk. After team building, if we say that we are going to communicate better, we'll put these so and so channels in place. We will listen to each other. Then we need to set the example. All of us need to set the example. We all need to create that, and we all need to walk the talk, right? It's not something nice to know. These are should be actionable. We should have behaviors that allow us to be able to put everything into action. So, what about engagement in this now normal? I was talking about team building, but we can't really go to the beach or anywhere else for it. So, what do we do? There are different ways, because businesses have been disrupted. Everybody has been disrupted. Whether you're a business or not even a business. I mean, even housewives have been disrupted. They can't even go out to do the groceries. Or if they do, there's always a fear. So everything has been disrupted. And new business models, exponential technology, agile ways of working, and regulation are constantly changing the way organizations work. So COVID-19, well, it has only accelerated this transformation. Before, work from home was just theoretical. It was, it's good to have, but now it's a must have. It's a must have. So COVID has accelerated this transformation and grounded in human experience principles, in which in turn can drive sustainable change on behavioral and cultural, and of course at the organizational level. Everything has changed in all these levels. So even our corporate culture, where has it gone? It's been scattered everywhere, right? So we have to be able to find new ways of engaging employees in this now normal. So here's ways to engage while we're apart. Number one, we have regular structured check-ins, via Zoom. And please, please be camera ready. If you're not camera ready, then try to find a way to be camera ready, so that you can look at each other and see each other, see what's happening. It's always nice to see how a person reacts while you're talking to them. Isn't that's really how we engage with each other, and that's how we've always engaged with each other. Next, we could have meeting icebreakers just before the meeting. Just have a little icebreaker, question, Q&A, something that will make things fun before the actual meeting. Next, constant appreciation and recognition. Even just hey, close the deal today, congratulations team, this and that. Even just that over the Viber group chat, that you might have, or line chat, or WhatsApp, the groups that you have. Even that is something can give recognition to people. So have constant appreciation and recognition, and have like online coffee breaks. A friend of ours was saying that, I miss eating in our office pantry, where everybody gets to get together, eat together, kulang na lang magbudal fight, right? And just mingle, right? So you can have it on Zoom. I mean, you're all there eating together, or the inumans are still a thing. Have that, or just have coffee with each other. Okay, I have my cappuccino here, I have my brewed coffee here. Oh, this blend is good. You should try it out. But have those breaks every now and then. Have coffee with someone, even if it's online, right? And that's one way of engaging with other people. What are other ways? Offline challenges and hobby clubs. Some of us are into baking. I mean, I am now into baking. I never thought I would be into baking bread, but I love it. It's therapeutic, and you can have like these things online, or a Zumba class, or if you have like a treadmill at home, whatever. Just have that challenges or hobbies. What hobbies do you have? Are people into cross stitch, knitting, making small dioramas? Whatever it is, form a club and then meet online and have like classes together. So, online movie, karaoke, and game night. Yes, there's so many online games that you can use. That's a given. And of course, get unplugged every now and then. Take a mental health leave, or maybe a wellness leave, and take it. Make sure that when a person is taking their wellness leave, nobody bothers them. Nobody calls them, nobody talks to them about work. If you do call them, it's just to say, "Hi, how are you? Let's make cuento," but nothing about work. No deadlines, no new things, nothing. Okay? Because they are on a wellness leave. And you can have that for your organization, especially in this now normal, where more and more people are saying that they are working longer than when they were working in the office. Yes, because now it's not work from home. Many times people feel that they are sleeping in the office because the office is now their home. So whenever they are on a wellness leave or a mental health leave, nobody should bother them. Be unplugged for a day or two or three, depending on how many you've taken or can be allowed to take. So I'd like to close a little bit before our Q&A, on how do we now enable all of these things that I've been talking about. What will drive engagement? Given everything that I've said so far, yeah, they're nice, to action, engagement, commitment. How do we now make sure? And so there are four enablers, okay? Four enablers to this employee engagement, So what's the first enabler? The first enabler really is strategic narrative. That the strategies and goals are always visible and made known to everyone, right? That everybody is involved in contributing to the goals and the strategies of the corporation. That leadership is providing a strong narrative, a strong strategic narrative about the organization and where it's headed. What is the future of this company? And the leaders are driving that narrative. Second is engaging leaders. If you have disengaged employees, it is more important to have engaged leaders. This is same as walk the talk. The first ones who should be walking the talk are your leaders. Are your leaders engaged? Are they showing up and giving their best every day? Are they committed to doing their best every day? Are they providing that safe space for everybody to be innovative, to give feedback, to be productive, a welcoming and safe environment? So we need engaging leaders. Employee voice. So throughout organizations, of course, for reinforcing and challenging views between functions and externally, employees are seen not as the problem, rather as central to the solution. So do we allow people to voice, right? Because employees are the solution also to concerns. So are people invited to contribute, right? Their experience, especially for tenured employees. Are they allowed to give their 2 cents worth, right? In a discussion, in the meetings, are they allowed? Next. So, the last one, of course, is integrity. That goes without saying. We have to have integrity in everything that we do. If we have corporate values, it is so, so, so important that we are aligned in everything that we do to our corporate values. That we walk that talk every day. That when I am there, I am an employee of so and so company, of so and so corporation, of so and so organization. I walk the talk and the values. People see it in me, and people see the value that I bring also in the company because I live the values of the corporation. And these are the important the enablers of engagement. So important. All right. So we have just a few moments for questions. Okay. So all right. We are here for Q&A. And I think we have some questions. To join me for Q&A is Sarah. So Sarah, I maybe been monitoring the comments and do you have a question that's there somewhere?
I think we're still like trying to call. I know we have several, and we will flash the questions. In the meantime, as we're waiting for the questions, if there are some more questions that people would like to send in, and while we're waiting for them, we just want to remind everybody that if just in case you want a copy of this particular webinar, then we can definitely share this with you. We can send you a copy via your email. Just send us your email and we can send you a copy. In the same way, if you just in case you tuned in late or you would really like to, like watch it again, even if you're here with us, we'll be posting a replay of the webinar later on our social media page. So you can just go back to it if there are certain parts that you kind of need clarity on. This is something that will be available for everybody later.
Mhm.
Okay, so as we're waiting for the questions, we just want to tell you a little bit more about OI or organic intelligence. It's really quite a mouthful. We really just call ourselves OI. Okay, so organic intelligence, or specifically our group in people development, really focus our services on three different buckets. And that's really for organizational development, for training and workshops, and for coaching, whether it's executive coaching or one-on-one for staff. So for organizational development, that will cover consultancy. That means we're looking at everything from your mission, your vision, your values, your organizational structure, okay, and how we can grow, whether we want to improve a certain culture you currently have or change something that you don't want that you're seeing, then that's something that we can definitely help you with. We also do traditional and non-traditional trainings and workshops. Most of the things that we do, we customize and we design depending on what is it that you need. But we have all the standard ones that you would possibly expect. Okay. And then we also do coaching. We do executive coaching, we do one-on-one coaching, we do coaching for sports teams as well, performance-based coaching. So these are just some of the things that we do as a group in Organic Intelligence. These are just some of the clients that we work with. I believe that we have some of them probably tuned in. I'm not seeing you guys because I didn't see, I mean, I can't spot everybody, but I know in the signups we have people coming from our partners who are joining us here today. So we have partners and clients from different industries, whether they're from health and wellness, business and finance, media and telco agencies, food, products, government as well, nonprofit. So we work with different kinds of organizations. So we hope that in the future, if we haven't worked with you, that we can. Okay, so we're looking forward to having that kind of relationship with you if you're watching this today. So, are there any questions now that we can go to? I believe that we have, I know, and here it
Yes.
is. Okay. From Camille, I'll read it. From Camille Conde. Thank you, Camille, for joining us today. I work in a medium sized private company, and I wanted to ask how to deal with managers that don't take feedback well. Hmm. I've experienced some line managers who dismiss them versus acknowledging them.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, Rob, me, you first. I can go first.
Yeah,
Okay.
go first since I've been talking all this time.
Okay. It's really difficult. Camille, I have to commend you if you're the one giving feedback to a manager. I think one of the hardest things to do is to give feedback to somebody that we report to. Okay? So it's not an easy task, which is why my point of view for this is if you're the manager and you're the one receiving this, it it really, you have to give it so much weight because that didn't come easy for the person to say that to you, right? If you've been in that situation, it's the hardest thing. Now, what do you do if they don't take feedback well? I'll dial it back a little then, because the reality is we don't know and we cannot predict how another person will receive whatever it is we're going to say, but we can definitely adjust the way we say something, as well as manage our personal state. So we go into that discussion with the right intentions. Okay. So the first thing that I would probably recommend is when we go to any kind of conversation that is about feedback, especially if we're giving something that's not very positive, it would be best to come in with an attitude of listening. Okay, so listen first, and most importantly, listen so that we understand the other person, and also listen so that we can respond properly when we understand the situation. We don't listen and then craft already the response that we have. Connected to that is let's seek clarification. So that's second. There may be things that we don't have visibility on, okay, that the managers have. Okay, so if that is the case, just try to understand where they're coming from as well. Okay, so I'm sure there are different kinds of pressures and responsibilities that they bear. So I would seek and clarify. But for this, I would just stick to the facts. Because a lot of the time, feedback sessions and conversations really go awry when there's a lot of personal emotions that are brought into it, a lot
Mhm.
of judgment, a lot of accusations that are no longer factual. Okay, so when we seek clarification, make sure that you stay to the facts. The next one for me would probably be, and it's good practice when you have that conversation before you start to set boundaries. Okay, so just tell them that, I am going to you because I want you to know that this is my experience. And when you say it like that, I am not here to judge you in any way. I am just letting you know of the effects of certain things to me and the work that I do. That way, people can kind of be more open in receiving it. And then, like set those boundaries. I think for this conversation, I would appreciate that we have a calm, conversation and we don't raise our voices. So that's a very clear boundary. It also gives you permission to say, this is not what we agreed on at the beginning. Should it cross the boundaries that you set, so that you can kind of step away and say, maybe we need a timeout. Okay, so those are just things. The reality is we can never um, control how the other person will take something that we say. Okay, so to me, it's really just adjusting our mindset and our intention and really listening. And then hopefully, the result of the conversation would be different as well if we adjust ourselves first. There. Such a long answer to feedback. But Camille, it is probably, okay, and the research has shown feedback is the number one most difficult conversation to have in any organization. So you're not the only one experiencing this, and certainly we have worked with like other organizations that have struggled with it as well, because it's very human to feel like I feel like I'm under attack or I feel like I'm being criticized. So there, just stick to the facts and make sure that at the core, there's still a desire to preserve a relationship, even if it's a professional respectful relationship. with one another. I hope that kind of answered your question. Like we can do a very long session on feedback. That's
Yeah,
like a whole other like
that's a
diba.
different
That's a
workshop.
whole other conversation. That's true. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay,
Okay,
this one.
Rocky will take this. I will read it for you. Samantha
Okay.
Sanchez. Thank you, Samantha, for tuning in. I think Samantha has also been with us in our other webinars. Okay. On top of lunches or small meriendas together, which agree, good idea, yes. Can you suggest other activities to get employees to talk together more and not just through work chats like Viber?
Um, I think well, thank you, and I know that the more obvious answers would really be through the way that we are doing the webinar right now. I mean, we can go into any to a Zoom meeting or a Zoom chat. And I found this very helpful, that when we go into the Zoom chats, or when we're doing these checkups and meetups on Zoom, I think it's really nice if we are all camera ready. Case in point, we just had an interview recently with someone, and that person requested, can we switch on our videos, because I'd like to see people for once. Because chats sometimes are like seances. You're always wondering if who's there. Somebody wants to come in. Parang may mga spirito that are somewhere there, but you don't know. But if you actually see the person, it changes the whole dynamic of the chat. And that's something that I encourage people to do. I'd even encourage it in meetings, that if people are in a meeting, uh, and you don't meet as often as you should, then when you do meet, make sure that your camera ready. It doesn't have to be over merienda or over drinks. It can just be something that's short and sweet. Just a catch up, a short chat, just that. I mean, because right now we know that things are limited, and places to go to are very limited, and we have to do our share, right? So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yes, this is the way that we do it. The Viber groups are still helpful, but at the same time, if you do go on Zoom meetings, or if you do go on video chats, make sure your camera ready, so that they see your smile, they see when you're frustrated, they see when you're sad, they see when you're happy, right? So all emotions are seen, and that brings a whole different dynamic to the conversation. I hope that answers it. In terms
Can
of
I
this
just
now.
add? I remember because one of the things that Robbie mentioned for this particular question is we can even fold it into regular, like everyday team huddles, team
Yep.
meetings. You can start it where the first 5 minutes, because you're all there, right? The team is together. You're not going to go to lunch or go to merienda yet. It's actually you're going to work together. So you can just set a simple question that everybody can answer or discuss for the first, like meeting, even if it's just, like, did you watch the new Justice League or something, which we were talking about while preparing for this. Or, like you could be somewhere, like anywhere today, where would you want to be? Okay, so there are so many questions that you can kind of ask each other, and it puts you in that kind of, it makes you feel like you're still together because you're sharing something, an experience, or what's your best memory if you look back to this particular year, last year. I think there's a lot of space there to really utilize the opportunities when we are together at work, meaning you're
Mhm.
online, you're going to go to a meeting. And the first, it's not a long time. Certainly, we're not asking that like, okay, you just chat with each other. But it's really like maybe for maximum of 5 minutes, at least
Mhm.
have a real, honest, and sincere conversation with one another. So I
Yep.
find that that is very, very helpful also.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam,
And,
for
and
your question.
yes, thank you, Sam. And that's how meetings start sometimes, right? You start off with just some chit chat, so you
Yeah.
can do that even in the chat. Okay. I will read this now for you
Ah,
or for whoever.
okay.
So this is from Dena. Hello, Dena. Thank you for watching and thank you for the question. I love the idea of having virtual coffee breaks with my teammates. But how do we battle the lack of motivation, especially from Zoom fatigue, to go on even more calls on top of work meetings?
Thank you, Dana. Oh, I can super relate. Yeah. Um, okay. If I go back to what we were talking about when it comes to engagement, one of the really important things to note is what do people want and what are they tired of? Okay.
Yeah.
So if we actually get feedback in our organization that people are already weary of being always on a call, let's also respect that as much as we would want to, because that might just push them na instead of appreciating what we're giving them, they just feel more, like disconnected and disengaged. For me, the best way I would approach this is nothing is compulsory at this point. Like certainly we respect if you just want, if you're tired or, like especially tired of Zoom. So I feel like you don't have to battle that. If you're not in a place where you feel for yourself, it would be good for you to go. I recommend that you don't go. Okay?
Mhm.
Because that's just going to be super counterproductive to what it wants to achieve. And we also bring our own energy, and that is also going to influence other people. So, for me, if you're not in the right state, you really feel like what I need above everything else is just to unplug, then go ahead and do that. Okay. So if you're from a personal level, if that's what you're feeling, I feel like it is also unfair to ask you to go and do something just because, like it's on the calendar. That
Mhm.
defeats the purpose of any kind of engagement activity. On the part of the organization, this is why it's so critical to find out what are they interested in, what's their current state of mind, how are they doing emotionally, because it will give you an idea of what will and will not work. When this is already the input of an organization, then it gives you that kind of idea that, maybe we need to hold off for a while or not to have it very often. To me, any kind of engagement, it will naturally, people will participate more and more, but it's also not drowning people in so many activities because then it doesn't feel special anymore, right? So yeah, so to answer that question, um really don't force yourself. Go when you feel like you can benefit from it and others can benefit from you being there as well. And of course, I
Maybe
know
just to
you.
add, yeah. Maybe just to add to that, it's all about setting boundaries.
Yeah.
So when we were in the office, it's clear. There's time for to get to come in, time for break, time for lunch, time for afternoon break, and time to go home, and then we unplug. But now that we're working from home, we need to set those boundaries, and I think that's really important right now. Yep,
Yep.
that's it.
Any more questions? Do
We
we have
have
time for?
one more.
Okay. Oh, Rob from
Oh my.
Kim. Okay, I'm very amused by this question. Hi. I'm curious on how companies can bridge generational gaps when it comes to engaging their employees. Ooh,
Okay.
generation gap now, Robbie. You and your tita jokes. Okay.
But everybody loves my Tito jokes. Nice.
No.
What?
All right.
Okay.
Sige, I think companies can bridge the gap by being purposive about the activities they put out so that it's something that appeals to everyone. Look, the reality is there will always be things that the younger people find like, more interesting and then the older people somehow feel like, di ko get. Okay? O yun, di ko get.
And vice
Okay,
versa.
um, like gaming, I don't get it, right? But I'm sure a lot of people do. And yet, in spite of that, there you can find if you are actually paying attention, because no matter how young and how old people are, you have a shared culture and a shared experience. So if you tap into that, then you will find the ones that will work for everybody. Um, Engagement things don't always have to include everyone all at the same time, every single time. Okay. So you can have something that you know will appeal to people who are younger. You know will appeal to somebody who are more mature and older than the others. And at the same time, you can find something that appeals to both. So no engagement things don't have to be for everybody all the time. Okay, it doesn't have to be. It can be targeted to different audiences as long as you're reaching everybody. And again, it falls under a plan. I think that's the best thing that companies can do is plan it out. It's not because a lot of the time, we hear about something. Hey, like they were doing like video night or a movie night. Hey, let's also do that for our company. And just invite everybody. Okay. Yeah, it's fun, but again, does it fulfill an objective? Is it part of a bigger plan that you have? And that will be the more critical thing so that you're able to address this.
Another thing, if and thank you, I think, Sarah, that was for the organization, right? If people, and I'll go a step further in the question for individuals. My only suggestion, if you are an individual and you want to bridge that gap, be genuinely interested in people. That's how we can bridge the gap. Be
Yep.
genuinely interested in everyone, because I purposefully also do that so that I can relate better to my own children who are Gen Zers, and probably one millennial. I'm not so sure anymore. So and so that's how we can relate to each other. Be genuinely interested in people. Yeah. Do we still have
Yes.
time for more, or I think we're one more? Okay.
It
This
just
is
keeps
from
coming.
this is from Shan Buiko,
Oh, it's
and
just this is a comment more than a question.
okay, okay.
Yeah. So Shan said, I thought the segmentation of employees is interesting and everybody's familiar with segmentation of the market, but never for employees. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that, Sean.
Thank you for
And,
the comment. Yeah.
yeah, actually, you're right, Sean, that a lot of the time we look at the market because that's who we're targeting, right? But right, of course, we have to do that. That is something that is mandatory, so that whatever it is that we are providing appeals to the desired audience. We reach who we target to reach. At the same time, I feel like there's also in organizations less focus on growing the employees that they have. I admittedly am very, very biased for first serving your internal customers. And you can't serve people you don't understand, right? So if you understand them, if you take the time to talk to them, to really genuinely be interested in what it is that they need and how, as an organization, you can do better for them, your customers, your end users, as proven by so much research already, will feel that anyway. Okay, it will cascade to that. Your profits will reflect that. Your productivity will reflect that. As well, as long as first you really pay attention to the ones we should be serving first as an organization, and those are our employees. There. So thank you for that comment.
Yes.
I think
I
that is all the
Yep.
time
That's a
we
wrap.
have.
I
All
think.
right.
I think there are other questions though that are there. Unfortunately, we cannot answer everyone at this point. But feel free to leave them in the comments if ever we'll try to reach out. If ever you can also reach out to us. I just want to say thank you, first of all, to all of you who tuned in to our Building Bonds, Growing Your Teams While Apart webinar right now. Thank you for those who tuned in YouTube and our Facebook Live. Thank you so much to all our clients who are listening as well. Thank you for those who sent their comments and their questions. Thank you for everyone. And thank you, of course, to my partner here, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah,
Thank you,
for your
Robbie.
insights.
Always a
Uh,
pleasure.
Yes, and please watch out for more videos that we will be sharing also in our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. So please follow us on our YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel, and we also have a Facebook page. And I will post after this. I will post the links here in this webinar as well for you to take a screen cap. If you are interested in this webinar, a copy of this webinar, we can send you a copy. Just send us a note, and we will send you a copy of this webinar. And you can request for a this presentation that we just made for you. We can send that to you. And so, thank you very much for tuning in. And we hope to catch you on our next live webinar. And we will post an announcement soon for the next one. So thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone. Please take care, and love your families. Take care of yourselves. Stay at home and be safe. Bye.
Bye.